they come from a porno mag.
They do.
Yeah, the girl.
All right, so I'm Bill. I'm an alcoholic. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm grateful to be here. I've been separated from alcohol.
What's up, you stud? Hold on, Cheddar.
Waiting
Listen,
for
Cheddar.
that night in shining
Hey, the
armor.
meeting started.
All right,
Good
so
work.
I've been separated from alcohol since July 12th, 2004. I've been separated from drugs since April 10th, 2010.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll get into that. Yeah. So I'm from a little town called Alameda in the Bay Area, right outside of Oakland. Yeah. Grew up there.
There's a gangbang going on in the coffee room.
Yeah, you guys.
And I grew up. I was an AA kid. Like I was in the rooms when AA meetings were going on. I was doing homework. I was that little kid in the room, and I was like, "Fuck this place!" Like, I wasn't having it, you know. And I used to come to AA because I got in trouble. Like it'd be a punishment. My parents would take me here, and like in my house was all AA. Like Easy Does It. Like I just grew up around AA, and then. My dad was in recovery, and he ended up leaving our family, and I have 4 brothers and sisters, and he left when I was about 6, so I was like, fuck AA, fuck my dad, and then my brother dropped out of school and started taking care of me, and my brother was, he was pretty crazy, and he used to take me to parks to get in fights with other kids, and like,
bullshit Fritos.
kind of crazy.
Now they smell like your teeth.
And so, yeah, I just grew up like idolizing my older brother. My older brother was, getting in trouble. Started drinking at a very young age. I remember like being in my fridge because my dad was gone. He was the alcoholic, and so my mom had alcohol in the fridge, and I'd be in there like at 8 drinking wine, with the door and in the exactly, yes.
Hell yeah.
And it was classy as fuck,
Put your pinky out.
I was too young to fuck around like that. So, started getting drunk on the regular, like in middle school on half days. We would get like a party bowl and yeah. Then in high school, started to get a little bit more serious. I joined a free drinking fraternity. In high school. And then my first tattoo was a Mickey's malt liquor label on my back.
Fuck yeah. Damn right.
And then
You still have it?
I do.
Can we see it?
Yeah.
We didn't lose that.
All right.
Yeah!
Those nipples.
I'm fucking hard as a rock.
This is so great. Yeah, thank you. That's all right. So
We're a bunch of savages.
this is cool. Yeah, keep it up.
Stop fucking interrupting.
So starting off early, like I remember thinking I'm gonna slow down in my 20s, like then I'll chill out a little bit, and then to be honest, I don't remember much of my 20s. I got hooked on coke, crank, marijuana, ecstasy, like consistently for a long time, and crystal meth pretty much got me through college.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, it helps.
Yeah. And
Sell it at college.
and I got involved, like, just to qualify a little bit, like I'd be at a party and I'd take acid, and then I would go to the bathroom and somehow I would piss my pants, and I'd come back down and sit down at the table, and I would blame the guy sitting next to me for pissing my pants, and I would get into a fist fight, and I would start fighting him, and then I would remember hearing like, oh no, not again, like I had done this consistently, it was like, holy fuck.
Oh, peeing your pants, blaming on someone else.
Yeah.
That bit right there, yeah. We've all done that.
So all this fun, peeing pants and getting in fights and blaming it on people, it led to a very dark place where I was waking up on the bathroom floor quite often and like contemplating suicide a lot and attempting suicide. And I got obsessed with it. By the age of like 28, 29, My girlfriend had stabbed herself in front of me. It just got ugly and dark and like a really shitty place. And for me, it was like I never wanted to go back to AA because the way I thought of AA, my dad left me, left our family, and AA was supposed to help everything. I never got an amends or anything like that. So I was like, fuck AA, I'll never go there. And so I wanted AA in a pill form. And I tried to get that through the doctors. And they were like, yeah, why don't you come in and talk to us? So I had to go into the hospital and I talked to them a bit about what I was going through, and they were like, you know what, you really need a program, you really need to get to shake this stuff. And so at this point it was like that or death, because that's just where I was at. I wanted to die, and so I was willing to try it. And so he said, you know, in order to come to this program you have to go to outside meetings, and I had to get a card signed, and I had to take piss tests, and I got on antabuse, and I went to anger management. But I started to go to AA meetings. I remember walking through the door and thinking, oh, fuck, like these are my new drinking buddies, like looking around, going. And the meeting that I went to, everyone was like over 50, you know, it was like old timers and it looked pretty stuffy. And when I walked through the door, a guy was like, I'll sign that card. He's like, you could leave now if you want. And I was like, well, fuck you. And I sat right up front, you know, I'll show you. And I started to listen what people were talking about, and I started to hear things, and people were saying the same things that I was feeling, you know, and like the way that they expressed themselves were, you know, I couldn't express myself in the same manner. So I became like, I felt comfortable here. Hearing you guys, I felt like, okay, I fit in a bit, you know, and I consistently went to AA, and I was like, you know, when I first came in, I just wanted to kick this crank marijuana, ecstasy, cocaine habit that I had. I never wanted to give up drinking. I thought maybe I could learn how to drink. But they said, you know, if I wanted to stay in this treatment center that I was at, that I had to stop drinking. And I kept going to AA meetings, and like, somehow I just got it, you know. I haven't had a drink since, July 12, 2004. And I was like, they came in, they said, okay, don't get a girlfriend and get a sponsor. And so immediately I got a girlfriend and I started sponsoring myself. Yeah. And
Best idea ever.
Awesome idea. But then, like, you know, 5 months down the line, it was like, every time you guys spoke, I wanted to put my head through the door. And I wanted to, like,
Checked it out.
yeah, I wanted to fuck everyone up, essentially. And I ended up in the ER again because I wanted to kill myself. And they were like, someone 12-stepped me when I was in the ER because it was the same hospital that I was at treatment for. And they were like, look, you got to do this right. Like, why don't you get a sponsor? And so the next day, I went and I asked someone to be my sponsor, and they said no.
Well, I would have said no too.
Hey, I was a self-centered bitch. I'll admit it. Like, I know I was. And then I asked another guy, and he said no. And then I asked a third person, he said no. Damn. And then in the meeting, I erupted, and I was like, I put a fucking dollar in that basket like everyone else. Like, why is everyone here talking about AA and running a hard game, and like you won't sponsor? Like, I took it real serious, and I exploded about it. And then someone caught me after that meeting, and he's like, I'll sponsor you, no problem. I'll be your temporary sponsor until you find someone that you want to work with, but I'll work with you. And after that happened, it was like, I would never, if someone asked me to be a sponsor, I would never say no. And I just kept that in mind. Because it's hard when you first come in. It's hard to ask for help. I mean, as a man, it's like you don't want to be a pussy, right? And sometimes you don't want to talk about your feelings. Help me. Yeah, I don't want to call you. Hey, like it was hard. Daddy. I already have these daddy issues, so.
I'll be your daddy.
So things were good. Things were great. I started to go to AA meetings. I started to fucking participate. I got a service commitment. I was working with other people, talking with other people, and I'd participate. And then about 5 years go by, and I wasn't feeling it. Like you go through these peaks and valleys in AA. And at this time, I was like sitting by the door. I would come in late and I would leave early. I didn't want to hold anyone's hands. I didn't want to pray. None of that shit.
But you shared long, right?
Shared long?
Come late, share long.
Oh, yeah. Fuck yeah, because you guys needed to hear me. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So how are we doing on time right now?
You're fine.
All right,
Good.
cool.
Got
So
like 45 more minutes.
Yeah.
so
This is good.
I
so
was waiting for the drunkalog, actually.
oh sorry, yes. So anyway, so fucking
How many dicks did you suck to get a?
It's always the question.
oh, that took me by surprise, dude. I saw a little red there, but anyway. No, it's all good. It's all good. And so anyway, 5 years go by. I get a hold of some Vicodin, and I take a bunch of Vicodin, you know. And I was like in an argument with my wife, and I took a bunch of Vicodin, and I was like, you know, it's just Vicodin. Like, I'm not gonna tell on myself. But then the next day, I was going through withdrawals after taking 13 Vicodin. You feel it the next day, and it reminded me of like being strung out and like feeling like bad. And so I did get scared, and I saw my life like unraveling like before me. And so I called someone, and I told them myself, you know, and I went in and saw raised my hand that I was a newcomer again. And it was probably the best thing I had ever done, because it was some humility. I thought I knew everything. Like 5 years, I was like, I know everything, you know, and I don't. And it hit me like out of nowhere. So I moved to New York. From California, I moved to New York, and I never admitted that I was a newcomer. You know, I lied, and my wife knew that I was lying too, and I lied about my time while I was out there. And so I felt like a fraud, and I never really fit in New York, and I never really committed to the program, and I started ordering drugs online.
Fuck yeah.
But I would tell on myself, when they got here, when they got to the house, my wife would intercept them, you know.
Damn.
And so, no, that was cool. Like, she was cool with that. So,
That's really inappropriate.
so anyway, long story short, I moved back to California, and I told on myself for being a fraud and a liar when I was in New York. And then when I came back to California, I got a new sponsor. I still meet with the same sponsor all the time. I work the steps. I do a 10-step inventory every day. I got serious about it, you know, got real serious about wanting to be back in here and helping people. So that's enough about me. I want to talk about an experience with my sponsee. So I was at work one day, and I received a phone call, and it was from
Cheddar.
it's
You're talking to yourself,
All right.
man.
so
Cheddar. Sponsor direction.
I received
Shut up.
I received a phone call, and I was at work, and the phone call on my phone, it says Cadillac Ron. And I was like, oh man, like, I'm kind of nervous because he kind of tried to rip me off a couple times, you know. And so I pick up the phone, and he was like, hey, Bill Morris, you know, I'm sorry, because I'd ordered a shirt online of his, and the shirt never came. He smoked my shirt, you know. And so he was just like, hey man, I just want to apologize because I stole your shirt, I stole your money, like straight up, like I stole from you. And he's like, oh, my son just died last week. And it was like, I just had a daughter 2 weeks ago. And so I like felt a ton of empathy for him, you know. And I was like, we talked for about an hour that day, and just talked about life and like how he was going to try to get sober and really try to live a good life. And the next day I reached out to him. I said, hey, do you have someone that you're working with? Do you have a sponsor? And he goes, no. Will you be my sponsor? And I was like, oh, yes.
No.
You know, and I was like, yes, of course. But, you know, you live in Hollywood. I live in Oakland. And you need to be working with someone there that can, you know, keep track of you and talk to you and meet with you. But in the meantime, let's work together. And it was like kind of a test, like, and by the way, let's meet tomorrow and be prepared to read. And so I was just going to see if he'd show up, and he did. And we read on the phone. We would take turns, and I could hear in his voice he was super humble, and like he had hit a point that was so low that he was teetering on that bottom rock. And I felt like, yeah, man, I want to, I felt like things were progressing well because he was going through the steps. Every time I gave him an assignment, he would do it. He would meet with me at every time. He said he was coming to this meeting, and he was coming regularly, and he started to work with other people, and he had friends, and he was getting numbers, and Luke was one of his like AA people that he would talk about. And And it was like, to me, it brought so much. He brought so much to my life, and I'll never be able to articulate like everything that we shared. You know, I'm 42, and he would tell me things like, Bill Morris, you're my best friend. And I, you know, like I have friends. No one's ever told me that. You know, no man has ever said you're my best friend. You know, and it meant a lot to me. And I flew out here and I stayed at his house, and I came and I had him come stay at our house, and like he had just lost his baby, so I would have him hold my baby, you know, and it was really a beautiful thing. And to see him, like, he was hopeful and like he was surviving. But you know, I scored because the motherfucker is the funniest guy I've ever met in my life. And we'd be on the phone, and he'd like be going through some drag, and he would just, all of a sudden, I thought it was serious, and then he would start like laughing like hysterically, like, and talking about like the most off the wall shit that I probably shouldn't bring up. But okay, well, fine. Like, he would talk about, no.
He would have wanted you to.
All right, yeah. So he would talk about, you know, maybe I should just murder my girlfriend, and then I could take. And as a sponsor, I'm like laughing, but I'm like, well, you know, you should think this through. Yeah, you should really think this through, you know. And, man, he would call often. He would call late at night. I'd be in bed with like my wife. And if you read Working with Others in the book, it talks about like letting people stay at your house and sometimes like offering a bed to them. I'm like, fuck that. Like, don't call me after 9, you know, like I never went to the extent that it said in the book, but when working with him, I was like, okay, I get it. Because when you see someone that had nothing, he should have died before his last recovery, and to see him get better, you know, it was like, for me, it was very touching, and I really wanted to see that happen. And he came to my house about 7 weeks ago, and he had a show in the Bay, and then he had a show at my buddy's birthday, and he performed, and then he was supposed to stay, but he ended up like driving home that night, and we gave each other a hug, no homo. He would have loved for me to say that. I don't care if anyone's gay. That's awesome.
He went to gay high school.
He went to gay high. He had a degree.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, man,
I didn't know DeVry was gay.
You went to DeVry, you logged into DeVry.
so he drove home that night. That was the last night I saw him. And you know, I was told that he might be using, so I tracked him down and I called him on the phone. I never heard him high before, you know, and he was like in slow motion when he was talking to me, and it was like, it hit me like, oh man. And he was trying to get to Europe to do this fucking tour, and like all these great things were bound to happen to him, and like I don't know that he could handle it, and he used. And I asked him, I said, well, what happened, you know, like, and he said when he left my house, he knew he was going to use. And he had 2 sips of Heineken, and the second sip, he said he felt everything go away. Like all of his problems went away. And then 2 weeks later, he's dead, you know. So it went from feeling that to fucking, I would go for a run or work out, and he'd be bound to call me, and he doesn't do it anymore, you know. And I really miss him. Yeah, I miss him because I'll never have anyone like him. It's just an experience that I'm so grateful for, because I don't trust men, and for him to trust me, and like, it was just a great thing. And I owe it all to AA, you know. I really do. This program has given me so much, and AA I have people in my network that I talk to. Like there's this 65-year-old black dude named Gary from Vegas that I talk to on a daily basis. That's fucking nuts. I got AA Kyle, Tennessee Charlie. Well, I know, sorry, I don't know why I added that. It's just,
Solid, bro,
it's just, you know, we come from all these different backgrounds, and we still can like, I'm down for AA. I'm down for you guys. I'm really like honored that Luke, you asked me to share, and you kind of tracked me down, and like, that's just, it's cool, because I always wanted to come here because he would talk about this meeting so much, and like,
I'm sorry there's no breasts yet shown.
Usually the titties have already
Yes.
popped out by now.
where are they? I gotta go.
The
So
bathroom's right there.
I think that
Tears the best lube.
just thank you guys for having me. All right, so thank you.
Let's thank our speaker again,
Yeah.
Bill, for a wonderful day.
Yes.
The 12 traditions are to the group, and the 12 steps are to the individual. Afterwards, we will have a 10-minute break, followed by chips and birthdays. Remember that we are guests in this space and place. Please, why would you fucking put place? Please put cigarette butts in the trash. Tonight I have asked. Who have I asked to read the 12 traditions? Somebody. Tom.
Tom. 12 traditions. 1. Our common workers are king first. Personal recovery depends upon AA unity. 2. For do not cover.
I've said that 16 times tonight.